to the Lock Shop with Nielson and Hustler, powered by Coolbet Canada.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Lock Shop on a Tuesday, the first Tuesday after Monday Night Football, the first Monday Night Football of the year. We got lots to get to on the Lock Shop today. Lock Shop is presented to you by our wonderful partners over at Coolbet. If you've not yet signed up for an account, you're going to want to do that. Go to coolbet.com, use the code LOCKSHOP when you sign up, and you'll get a 100% deposit bonus on your initial deposit up to $200. So you deposit $100, they'll give you $100. Maddie, I never sent the link to Huss. Did you send the link to Huss? Okay, all right. Huss is going to join us here as well. We do have lots to get to. It's going to be a busy Tuesday. Once CFL or NFL wraps back up, as it ramps up, I should say, things get really jammed on the Lock Shop, which is a lot of fun. The shows absolutely fly by. Yesterday's show was terrific. Great chat with myself and Pete Gregoire. Wednesday, I will be in. Thursday, Maddie will be in with Huss, and I know one of the boys will probably pop by. And then Friday, obviously, another full-blown NFL show with maybe all three, both the Coolbet guys and Huss as well. But we've got lots to get to, just a few notes. We'll get to a Monday night recap on the Lock Shop today. We'll get to a week one sort of overall bigger picture, early look ahead to week two. We dropped a Nielson show early bird special for week two already on our show this morning. We got to get to some CFL talk. Yesterday, we didn't dive into that. And then just 3 games in the CFL this week, 3 teams on bye. And then the Lock Shop Poker Series, second event, 2 weeks from today. Huss, that's going to be pretty exciting. Looking forward to that. That's on Tuesday, September 24th. And I know Hernan's in, Glue Guy's in, HR Daddy's going to be back. Matt Iwanik's going to have a bounty on his bloody head this time around. Lock Shop Poker Series should be good in 2 weeks. I had a really good time with the first one, so I'm looking forward to this one.
Dude, the first one was an absolute riot. I know my pals and friends that were in it over here had a great time. Remus did well. Iwanik did well. I bounced right on the bubble, which kept me up at night for a couple days. But hey, it was just really fun to get together with so many people that support our shows and content and have a little fun on a Tuesday night. And Tuesday's the perfect night. Yeah. Because you know what? You can get your poker game up. You're fiddling around with your fantasy lineups and your waiver wire and all of that. And hopefully win a nice chunk of cash at the expense of fellow lock shoppers and, of course, WST and EST guys.
And we should note for the next Lock Shop Poker Series event happening in 2 weeks, it is already up. It is already up, so you can go reserve your spot right now. You can go in, lock it in, so you know you're good to go in 2 weeks from now. But if you go right now to the Coolbet Poker app, just search Lock Shop. It'll pop up. You can register. Boom. Simple as that. If you hop online to coolbet.com, you can download the Coolbet Poker app. Then just search Lock Shop. Then just register. It's that simple. It's going to be a good time. We had like right around 60 people last time for the first one. So hopefully we can make it a little bit bigger this time.
It was
and
a
lot of fun.
soft launch too. I mean, it was a soft launch. We didn't have a lot of time to put it all together. You were away, but as I said, everyone that was there the first night had a great time. So if you missed out on it, join us 2 weeks today on the 24th for the latest poker event.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. I think it should be a pretty good time. All right, Huss, I mean, where do we want to start here?
Well, where we want to start first and foremost is this garbage of Christian McCaffrey not playing last night.
Oh, I know.
And again, listen, this is not, I mean, whether you're on the Jets or the Niners or the total, we live in a world where there are billions of dollars being put into fantasy football. The NFL benefits. I'm not sure that anything has benefited the NFL more than fantasy football and its growth, as far as getting new people in the game, having people care about games that their team isn't in. I mean, I don't need to tell you, or frankly, probably anyone else doing this. You now have the advent of gambling on games, which is another huge, huge boost to the leagues. For Mason to say after the game that he knew he was playing on Friday,
I felt bad for that guy.
Well, and you saw Shanahan after the game. He realized that, okay, this is serious, and he adamantly said that wasn't the case. We maybe told him he needed to be ready or not. I will just say this, for that to happen on Monday Night Football on week 1 for the number 1 player in fantasy is a brutal look for the NFL, the Niners, and everyone behind that. And there'll be a lot of people that were turned off. I mean, it's not like we found out Sunday morning and he was out and you could go in and play somebody else. For most people, unless you had Mason on your team, you were SOL. I was luckily down by enough that I probably wasn't going to win anyways. But can you imagine being like 1 or 2 points out and then finding out right at kickoff that McCaffrey's not in, the guy that you for sure spent your first pick on?
That sucks, man. Yeah, that sucks. Mason's podium after, he was just like, do you see him? He was distraught. He's just like, I don't even know what to say. Like, that's why I hate doing this. Like, because
career game.
Yeah, career game. And everybody's like, wait a second. You knew you were going to be playing on Friday and nobody said it? Like, I felt bad for the dude. He had a great game. He had more carries last night than he did since high school. It was pretty impressive what he did last night.
Well, and listen, that's the thing. Jets were disappointing, although I'll be honest, that first drive, Rodgers going to Garrett Wilson, man, I mean, it looked like we were going to have it looked like this Jets team that we'd been excited about was going to be able to do it. And let's face it, doing it on the road in San Francisco is a very tough place to play. I was really impressed with the Niner defense, but maybe most impressed with the Niner offensive line. I mean, the way they open up gap. I mean, is Christian McCaffrey really that good? Or
of course,
like Jordan Mason can walk in. This is the big argument for the guys that say running backs are replaceable. I don't think McCaffrey's replaceable. But man, Jordan Mason did a great job last night. And yeah, you're right. He was put in a terrible situation. All the subterfuge and information, that they're trying to keep away or they're supposed to put out. It's brutal that the player gets put into that. I'm totally with you. I mean, it was unfair. And listen, he should have been sitting there smiling, basking in the glory of the greatest performance of his career and helping his team, win a big football game against a really good defense. And instead it was all about that. But listen, I think takeaways, the Jets can still be good. Their defense wasn't what I think many of us expected it to be coming out of the gate. Good night for Hassan Reddick. Not that I think that they're going to sign him. I think he might be in Le'Veon Bell territory right now, but you could tell that they really could have used him out there, and that was why they traded him right now. But I don't know. What did you think of Rodgers? I thought he looked pretty good at times.
I thought he looked okay. I mean, you can look at the overall numbers and go 13 of 21 for 167. Passing touchdown and interception. I didn't see anything that made him look like, he's washed. He kind of looked like old Aaron Rodgers, knew where he was going to go with the ball, got rid of it quickly, thought there was some good zip on the ball. And you know what? His low passing totals are no different than anybody else in the league this week. 2 quarterbacks throw for over 300 yards. I think the average going into the Monday Nighter was like 170 something across the league. Touchdowns in week 1, passing touchdowns in week 1 have dropped significantly over the last few years. And I was listening to a podcast yesterday when I was driving around last night, I think, and they were talking about how, week 1 especially, we'll see where it goes from here. But I think teams might just be starting to realize that it's just more efficient to run the ball than pass the ball in a lot of situations. So really low starts offensively. The lowest week 1 passing average in this century is what we just witnessed in week 1. So Aaron Rodgers throwing for like 179 yards was pretty much the norm this week. Not something that you look at and go, oh, wow, bad game for Rodgers. It was just a really low passing week in the National Football League.
Well, I can tell you the reason why Rodgers' passing was so low yesterday. They never had the football. I mean, the Niners would just get the ball and run it. I mean, the game took only like 2 hours and 35 minutes.
Game.
I don't know if you noticed how quick it was over. That's because they just kept on running the football. Like, I don't know what the final time of possession was, but it probably looked sort of like that Texans-Colts game on Sunday, which was 40 minutes for the Texans and 20 for the Colts.
38-40 for the Niners, 21-20 for the Jets.
I mean, just complete domination on the ground. And that was it. Rodgers did look like he was really enjoying throwing to Garrett Wilson. Like all our theories about him being the new Devontae Adams certainly looked that way on that first drive.
First drive for sure.
And then of course Rodgers is all day 5, all bleeping day 5, as he's yelling to him on the sideline. There was a couple of Aaron Rodgers moments on that on that drive where, you know, he threw a pretty nice pass. Wilson caught it. And then they have a close-up of him looking around, and he just had that sort of like, I'm good, aren't I?
Yeah.
I
He
still
just
got
knows
it.
it.
Like smiling to himself.
Now, that being said, they end up getting crushed. So,
Yeah.
but
Breece Hall actually, had a few moments, but I mean, that early fumble was like, we've just seen how badly some of these turnovers has killed teams. The Etienne one still sticks in my craw. I mean, that's the one.
That was a killer.
It didn't even involve a losing bet. Just if you're a Jags fan,
that would have almost sealed that game away, buddy. If you could have put
the Jets were. The Jets weren't good enough. The Niners were better than I expected, and we move forward. I will say this: if Mason is in for next week, I mean, they've already said that McCaffrey might not play.
Yeah.
I'd say he's rostered in just about all leagues. Like, I can't imagine he's on the waiver wire, but
he'll be on some waiver wire, I think. I mean, let me look him up.
He'll end up being the Puka Nacua of the coming out of last year's week 1. Everyone was grabbing him if he wasn't drafted. Mason will be a big hit on the waiver wire. I guess we can really dive into that tomorrow, but
yeah, I dropped 5 waiver wire names on the Nielson show this morning. We also put together I don't think it's up yet. We did put together like an early bird week 2 special, in which we have the Commanders on the money line. We went Bucks plus 7.5. That was Lieutenant Eric's pick. They go into Detroit to play the Lions. And then what was the other one? Maddie, what was your pick? I was on Commanders money line. You were
Chargers minus 6.5.
Chargers minus 6.5 against the Panthers. So we already laid that out there. From a betting perspective last night, we did hit our Monday Night Football madness parlay from the Nielsen show, which was the Breece Hall touchdown, Aaron Rodgers under 249.5, and George Kittle over 39.5. He finished with 40. He was at 38, made a 2-yard catch, got to the 40. We cashed it at 6-1. Now, you and the Jets, I know you said you're going to hold yourself accountable today, us, but we also didn't get the Garrett Wilson touchdown. And so it's not like you just hung us out to dry, right? No, we got the Debo total yards, but
yeah, I mean, the Debo pick was nice, and what can I say on the wrong side? I mean, it didn't really matter if the Jets weren't in that football game, and really, as we got through the first quarter into the second quarter, it sort of got away on them. I will say this: I mean, God bless the field goal prop, because that paid for the parlay and more, because it was plus 130 last night. And
when are they ever going to come to their senses on these? How do we keep getting these at great numbers? I just don't get it. What are we missing here? Like, it drives me. It's crazy.
I think now on Friday, I'm just pulling up this box score from the Green Bay game, but kicking, where do we have field goals? Navarro was 3. Listen, the field goal prop is perfect in the primetime games. It went over in the Chiefs game. It went over in the Packers and Eagles game. And now it's gone over in this game. And actually, what about last night? Detroit.
I was going to say, what about the Sunday nighter?
And it went over last night too.
Jeez Louise.
It was 2020, and then it was 26. So if we can keep on getting plus money, well, plus 130 last night. It was crazy. Anyways, that's the best bet on the board. And the primetime games seem to be plenty of field goals, 4-0 to start the year in the primetime games. Somewhere Pat Gregoire is just tackling,
loving it right now.
Money.
It's an automatic bet, man. Over 3.5 field goals, primetime, hammer it. Huss, as you look overall from week 1, what's the biggest storyline for you coming out of week 1 in the National Football League?
The biggest storyline.
And we were asked this morning during 3 Questions Too Many, which NFL team impressed us the most in week 1? And there weren't a lot. I thought the Niners impressed. I know they went to the Super Bowl, but I thought they looked like, with no Christian McCaffrey, they didn't miss a beat. I thought they looked outstanding last night.
They smashed a Jets team that many people think is going to be right there at the top of the AFC. And they really did take care of them. And again, they manhandled Dusty. We just went over the time of possession. They ran it down their throats, and there was nothing they could do about it. I'm not making huge conclusions about the Jets out of this game. However, if you were one of those people that thought that, the Niners might be taking a big step back this year, that's it. I mean, the biggest story to me might be Green Bay. Like, you go to Brazil, play a good game against Philly. I mean, that's another really good team. You go toe to toe, but you lose Jordan Love. And like, I don't know about you, but when I heard that the recently acquired Malik Willis,
I know, it's like, oh no,
backup for the Packers, I'm like, this is a great organization, a very good head coach, a roster that's put together that, you believe can do something. You have absolutely nothing past Jordan Love. I mean, that's just negligent. And now they're reaching out to Ryan Tannehill. All I can tell you is that I'll never forget the Malik Willis experience from the Titans. And the fact that they moved on from him so quickly just goes to show how ineffective he was. I have no idea how the Packers think they're going to win any games with him. And if he's in for the next 3 or 4 weeks, and I mean, they go 1-3, they're going to be very much up against it. Even as high as I am on Love and the rest of their roster right now. So that to me is fascinating. And I guess Green Bay this week,
they're a 3.5 point home dog against Anthony Richardson and the Colts.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, 3.5. That tells you all you need to know about what the bookmakers feel about Malik Willis.
Well, let's just say this: if Jordan Love was healthy, would they be 3.5 point favorites? Like, is that a full touchdown swing?
Yeah,
I would think probably at least.
Yeah, it is. And I mean, there's a lot of quarterbacks you'd maybe just go down a 3-point or 4-point spread, but going from Jordan Love to Malik Willis is about as far as you can go on the spectrum, if you will, of the quarterbacks. Other top stories of the week. I mean, the Atlanta Falcons not looking very good, just for a team that had so much hype coming in. But I think some of the Super Bowl favorites looking really good. Niners looked excellent. Chiefs looked great. Baltimore looked good, even in a loss to Kansas City. Your Lions looked amazing.
Lions are good. Yeah.
I mean, the Lions are definitely going to be a problem. And then, of course, the rookies. I mean, like, how did the rookies do right out the gate? Caleb Williams, so. I mean, not anything that was going to
they won in spite of Caleb Williams. I mean, it's as simple as that. Like, that's
first step.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels is going to be a fantasy god this year. I don't know how many games they're going to win, but my God, the amount of how much he is going to eat in garbage time when his team is down, which could be a lot this year, is going to be amazing. It's Dak getting his contract and then absolutely destroying Cleveland. And Cleveland's a team that with a great defense. I mean, that was about as perfect a day if you're a Dallas Cowboy fan as you could have wanted. You get all the noise removed with the new contract for Dak, and then you go out and absolutely smash the Cleveland Browns. And then I guess on the other side of that, the Deshaun Watson situation. I'm sure you've seen that he's now facing another lawsuit from another
I did not see this today.
Oh, yeah. There's another one that's popped out. Now, this isn't brand new. I do believe it predates everything in Houston, so I don't know whether there would be any extra discipline considering how many things he had before, but that's an absolute mess in Cleveland. And I think the worst loss of the week has to be I think the worst loss is actually the Jags because of the way that they were up and the way that they blew it.
Yeah.
But if the Cincinnati Bengals want to be hanging there with the top teams in the AFC, you can't be losing at home to the Patriots.
I'd argue that the Titans loss was even worse. I mean, something happened in that game that's happened like 3 times in 1,000 games, where you have a 17-point lead and the other team doesn't score an offensive touchdown and doesn't throw for 150 yards of total offense in that game, and you still lose it. And not only do you lose it, you also don't cover. as a 4.5 point dog. I was absolutely ridiculous. So there's a couple ones that definitely stand out. Who killed you in fantasy this week, Huss?
Oh, where do we start? First of all, I mean, the guy that's number one on my list is Chris Olave. Like, he's a second-round pick in most leagues, number one receiver, top draft pick. They put up 47 points on the worst team in the league, and Olave gets 2 fantasy points?
I don't know how that's possible.
I mean, like, I'm just pulling up this box score here. And I guess they really didn't need to pass the ball very much after they got up so much. And Carr did only finish with 200 yards. But, I mean, 2 catches for 11 yards for your number one guy. Rashid Shaheed had the long one, the 59-yard touchdown, and had a couple. Otherwise, they just spread it out, hit the backs a few times, Alvin Kamara there. So he was a huge disappointment. Pulling up.
Amari Cooper was a major disappointment too, 2.6 points. And now, Deshaun was obviously a bit of a train wreck. And you didn't use a top 2 or 3 pick on Amari Cooper. He was going in like late 4th, 5th, early 6th, depending on your league. But I had him in a few leagues because I like the value where we drafted him. And the 2.6 stung me in a couple of leagues this week, buddy. Not going to lie.
Oh my God. I'm feeling for Jim Toth. I'm just checking this. I came back last night. He had the 49ers D.
Did you have Moody?
I had Breece Hall, Kittle, and Jake Moody. And Moody had 26 points.
I know. Yeah. We had a guy who texted in first thing this morning, like before the show even started. The text message was waiting for us. And he was going into a fantasy matchup last night. And he had Moody. The other guy, he had Zerline. The other guy had Moody and Christian McCaffrey. He goes, and he had a lead. He had a pretty good lead. And then Christian McCaffrey is out, and the other guy didn't have Mason, so he was screwed. But Moody outscored Zerline 26-1 last night, and he ended up losing his fantasy matchup. And I was like, oh my God. Like, you see your other guy lose CMC, and you're like, I got it now. And then your kicker loses to the other kicker by 25 points. That is unheard of in fantasy football.
That is really harsh. That is really harsh. Other guys that, I know we mentioned him yesterday that were invisible. Evan Engram, which was a bit of a shocker after the season he had last year. I'm not jumping off the Evan Engram bandwagon, but maybe the most frustrating thing in my home league, I had McCaffrey who didn't play. I didn't realize that Matt Gay was inactive, so I didn't have a kicker. And then on my bench, Jaden Daniels with 28. Jameson Williams with 24, and Jaden Reed of the Packers, 33.1. So a forgettable week 1. Luckily, I haven't had any season-ending injuries yet. Although, who knows what's up with McCaffrey? He may be has an issue before we even get going.
Well, you mentioned one guy in there that led to a major disappointment, and that was with the Detroit Lions. Jameson Williams had a huge game. Amon-Ra St. Brown had 4.3 points, and this was a receiver who was taken in like the top 6, top 7 at deepest you get him. So I know that was a major killer. Even I had a Jared Goff, Sam Laporta stack in one of my Superflex leagues, and Laporta, like if you look at what happened, and I mean the Lions are going to score a ton of points. You're not panicking on these guys. But Williams had 5 catches for 121 yards and a touchdown. Laporta had 4 catches. He was only targeted 5 times. Jahmyr Gibbs had 4 catches. He was targeted 6 times. And Amon-Ra St. Brown, 3 catches, targeted 6 times. In this game, Jared Goff did throw the ball 28 times. So Jameson Williams coming in and looking as good as he did. And I think they used like 12th overall pick on him a couple of years ago. So, I mean, this is a guy, like he comes with a ton of pedigree. So if he starts getting mixed in a little bit, it's going to hurt St. Brown and Laporta a little bit. I do think there's enough to go around in the offense for Detroit, but that might change things a little bit.
Detroit's one of those weird teams. I mean, on one of my teams, I actually start Gibbs and Montgomery just because you know that those guys as a group are going to be really productive.
They both had touchdowns.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
Yeah.
They both get in. They both get touches. You knew St. Brown was going to be the guy. But the emergence of Jameson Williams, I mean, if he is going to be a big part of this offense on a weekly basis, that will probably take a bite out of somebody else on a weekly basis. And in week one, it looked like it was Amon-Ra St. Brown.
So we'll see. Any look at the lines here for week 2, Huss? Is there any lines that you see that you think you need to jump on right away? Is there anything that
you know what? Let me
bring it up.
And while I do that, hit me with these. Who are your waiver wire guys?
Okay, so my 5 waiver wire guys, I already ripped up the sheet. Oh, actually, wait a second. I should have it. Just let me bring up my prep sheet on here. It should be, what's today? Tuesday. Here we are. All right, so here are the waiver wire guys to look at. Lock Shop, of course, sports betting, fantasy, all the fun stuff that keeps you busy throughout the NFL season. Isaiah Likely at tight end. I don't think you can expect him to, have the types of games that he had, but his usage in that game was phenomenal. So Isaiah Likely, he would be rostered in quite a few. I looked at his ownership percentage. I think it's like at 60% on Yahoo leagues. So there's 30% of leagues you'll be able to find him out there. So he's out there. Jordan Mason, Jordan Mason and J.K. Dobbins are interesting because J.K. Dobbins is 49% owned in Yahoo leagues. So every second league, J.K. Dobbins is available right now. Whereas Jordan Mason, he could help you win next week, but at some point Christian McCaffrey's going to come back. And when Christian McCaffrey's back, Mason's kind of a non-factor. However, if McCaffrey's injury ends up lingering throughout the season, Mason could win you a league in that Niners offense. So that's when you got to, but J.K. Dobbins had 136, he averaged like 13.2 yards per carry or something. That's not sustainable. But J.K. Dobbins, Jordan Mason, likely with this Puka Nacua injury, I think you got to put Demarcus Robinson on your waiver priority list, depending on the type of league you're in, fab leagues or just waiver wire claim leagues. And then the other guy I wanted to put in because he was talked about as a rookie running back prior to the season. And I stashed him in a bunch of leagues, and he outproduced Rachaad White rather significantly in that Tampa Bay win. That's Bucky Irving, running back for the Tampa Bay Bucks. I think if he's not already, and in a lot of home leagues and stuff, that's not a guy who would have got drafted. So I think that's a guy that you could go and kind of take a look at as well, because I mean, Rachaad White had a nice year last year, but there's nothing that locks him in as like, oh my God, you have to give Rachaad White 20 touches a game. And the touches that Bucky Irving got this past weekend in that pretty convincing win for Tampa, were much more productive than the touches that, I mean,
I watched a lot of that game.
Did you?
He
okay.
looked really good. He looked really good.
Yeah.
He's a guy that he was able to run. He was good catching the ball. He was bigger than I thought he was too. I kind of was under the impression that he was a really small guy.
I think because his name's Bucky, you think he's just a little guy.
I guess. Yeah. I guess. I don't know. But he came out in Tampa overall. Baker had a hell of a game.
Huge
now,
game.
I'm going to have to keep doing it moving forward. But
see, but it's interesting with these leagues because like Jake says he had Jaden Reed on his bench in 2 leagues. I had Jaden Reed on bench in one of my leagues, but I'm still not starting Jaden Reed. You know what I mean? Like, great game, but I'm not starting him, especially with Jordan Love out. I'm not all of a sudden.
Well, not until Jordan Love's back.
Well, that's the thing. I don't think, like, moving forward here with Jordan Love out, if Malik Willis is, they have one guy on their practice roster. That's why they're looking out maybe a Tannehill type. I wouldn't start any of the Packers receivers with Willis at quarterback. No way. Maybe in like a 3 wide receiver league that also has a flex. Maybe. But outside of that, man, those guys are all unstartable right now without Jordan Love. They just are. It's crazy.
Yeah. You got to wait. I mean, say you have like Keon Cole, like on the team that I got Jaden Reed on, I had Jalen Warren in the flex. He only had 4 points. So I certainly could go a different route and put something else in there. But I'm waiting for Hollywood Brown to get healthy. But, Jameson Williams is going in. Keon Coleman would go in over Jaden Reed right now as long as Jordan Love is out. So
how did Coleman do? I didn't even see Coleman's numbers. How did he look?
He actually looked pretty good. He's number 0.
Oh, that's weird.
For them. He ended up with 9.1.
Yeah, 4 catches, 51 yards.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's not bad.
He was fine. He got into it. He was involved.
Led their team in catches, actually.
Yeah, it was the ups and downs. You know, you can look at one team that you do great. Oh man, I did a great job of putting this team together. And then you look at the other one with 1 million points on the bench and McCaffrey doing nothing, going, what a like that. I had a Bengals like performance in one of my leagues, and now I have to think how we move on to week 2 after such a disappointment. But you asked about these upcoming week's games. Let me tell you right off the bat, I was not expecting to see the Chiefs laying 6 against the Bengals. Like those teams always play super close games. Now, I guess we'll see what's up with T. Higgins. And if Jamar Chase shows up to practice and, you know, if they can actually get things together. And Burrow really does play well against Kansas City. I imagine they'll be a super desperate team. I mean, to avoid going to 0-2. I was a little surprised that line was as high as it was, but I guess when you lose at home to the Patriots and you're going to Arrowhead, that's what you'll get. You mentioned that Packer-Colt line. Imagine me telling you a week ago that the week 2 line for the Colts at Packers would be Indy -3.5 in Green Bay. It would seem impossible. And then you find out that Malik Willis is the starting quarterback. So that's going to be a difficult game to bet too, because it could go a couple of different ways. I think this is probably going to be a very low. The total for the game is 40.5.
Yeah, it's low.
We're pushing 38. Although you think that's low, the total in the Seahawks-Patriots game is 38.
38.
The Denver-Pittsburgh is 36.5.
Oh my God, 36.
Some of the lowest totals. The lowest totals.
Chargers-Panthers are 39 as well. Yeah, there's 3 or 4 games this week that are 40 or below. Like I said, though, low scoring week 1.
And then one I don't know, I guess just on the surface, I'm surprised at is the Rams being dogs in Arizona against the Cardinals. Now, it's only 1.5 points, but I mean, the Rams are plus money on the money line. I thought that the Rams looked good. I mean, I think they went toe-to-toe with one of the best teams in the NFL. And, I mean, I guess Arizona showed that they're a plucky team and they can score some points. I don't know if they can stop anybody. I mean, if Cooper Kupp had 14 catches last week and Nakua started, like, he could be 15 to 20 coming up this week. Matt Stafford's looking pretty good as well. Steelers laying 3 on the road in Denver is pretty funny. That's a bet on the Steelers defense, like we saw 100%. Last week.
Justin Fields looks like he's going to start week 2 too.
Yeah.
So week 2 as well.
Like, I don't know if that really mattered. Like, I don't think they're going to be way better with Russie in there. I mean, I think it's just a matter of don't turn the football over and let the defense do what they're going to do. And then, of course, we've got the Thursday nighter, which is going to be a heck of a one. Bills and Dolphins. How's that for a week in Miami? Tyreek gets roughed up by the cops before the game, goes in, 80-yard touchdown to turn the game around, does the handcuff pose. And then it was on CNN last night. I saw getting interviewed by Caitlin Collins about the whole thing. And then they're right back at it on Thursday night against the Buffalo Bills in an absolutely massive game. Not a quiet opening week for the Dolphins, that's for sure.
No, definitely not. A couple of things. We're going to talk some CFL here, too. We'll dive into the Canadian Football League. Just 3 games this week, but lots to discuss around the CFL, that's for sure. DGen Den Parlay is already up on the combo cards at Coolbet. So if you go to coolbet.com, pop on the top, make sure you're logged in, and you'll see the combo cards along the top. DGen Den Parlay, that's, of course, from the Discord channel of Edmonton Sports Talk. The crew over there, Kansas City Royals, New York Yankees, over 7.5. The Guardians on the money line against the White Sox. Canada, Mexico, double chance draw in soccer. Double chance Canada and draw. And then Houston on the money line against Oakland. That's plus 534. And then you'll also see the EST Early Bird NFL Partner Parlay that we put together on the Nielson show this morning. Chargers minus 6.5 against Carolina. The Bucks plus 7.5 against the Lions. And then the Commanders on the money line that was plus 542 on the combo card. It's bumped up to plus 625, so you can grab those. So make sure you log into your account. You'll see the combo cards all across the top. And if nothing's in if you're missing something you thought would be in the combo cards, click on exclusives and you'll probably be able to find it down there.
Hey, just on that, and I know the fellas in the DGen Den threw the double chance in on this, but Canada, Mexico tonight. As he mentioned, huge win for Canada. The Americans are so rattled right now with how good we are. They are just bent. Jesse Marsh doing an unbelievable job with their team. Beat USA 2-1 a few days ago. The other international friendly is tonight. And Canada is plus 230 to win. A draw is plus 220. Mexico plus 120. And that double chance that the guys mentioned that the Nasties have in on the DGen Den parlay, minus 161 for Canada and draw. Both teams to score, yes, minus 111. No, minus 115. I'm going to try and find that match tonight as well. I like that it's on a Tuesday, our little day off of gridiron football for a little footy with the Canadian men's national team. Can we hit the CFL?
Yeah,
this weekend?
I know. We got lots to get to, man. There's only 3 games, but we didn't even have a chance yesterday to recap kind of the weekend.
I need to ask you about your Banjo Bowl experience. So what was it like in the booth? Because it was insane in the stands. So loud, man.
I mean, it's tough because once I get my headset on, I don't really get a good feel of, the madness in the stadium. And every time I go to Princess Auto Stadium, it's pretty raucous. But we were talking with Jeff Hamilton yesterday on the Nielson show, and he said, saw your tweet about it as well. And I think I saw Orleski on Instagram or something. Everybody was talking about how it might have just been the best vibe ever at Princess Auto Stadium. But when you sell out multiple times, how can it make it that much better? What was about it that made it that much better? Just Banjo Bowl, simple enough.
Yeah, the Banjo Bowl for sure. I mean, that is the game every year. And the fact that the game was, last year, the Bombers got a touchdown on, I think, their first 5 or 6 possessions. And the game was basically over.
6 touchdowns in a row.
It was over at the half, and then it was just party. Saskatchewan, to their credit, came back and made it a game. And a lot of times that place will be full, but again, you'll have a bunch of people in the Rum Hut area, or they may or may not be tuned in. The vibe is great and it's a big party, but people aren't quite locked in as if it was a playoff game. That is the way it felt on Sunday afternoon. And when Tyrell Ford made that pick, I think it got to 111 decibels in the stadium. I saw, and it was deafening, and it was really just the general din. It was so loud at all times in that stadium. I think they may have packed a few extra people in there too. To be perfectly I know they didn't change the sold out number, but I think there might have been a few extra bodies in there that didn't have seats. But it was awesome. And listen, the Bombers, this was a workmanlike, well-rounded team win. It wasn't like the offense had to be absolutely spectacular. The defense obviously gave up a couple touchdowns, but came up big with some plays. And listen, in these very, very close games, you're looking at a couple things. Turnovers, Bombers won that battle. Special teams, they had the block punt, and Sergio Castillo went 4 for 4. And it's some of those things that we don't talk enough that is often the difference between winning and losing. And dude, Saskatchewan is going to go 2 full months without winning a football game. Their last win was on July 19th. They don't play again until September 20th, and it's going to be a full 2 months. And now the way I look at it is it's sort of Winnipeg and BC battling for first, and it's Edmonton and Saskatchewan that are battling for third place. And we can cross off Calgary, and in all likelihood, and Edmonton's just a half game back of Saskatchewan, and they've got a home. I think it's a home game. They definitely have a head-to-head match.
Yeah, they do. It's a game here. And then the home and home against Winnipeg. Even if they split that, they're in a pretty good spot. And the Elks have been playing tremendous. They've won 5 of their last 6. Bombers won 5 in a row. They've won 5. Edmonton's won 5 of their last 6. BC Lions have snapped their slide with 2 wins over the top 2 teams in the East. So it's going to be great down the stretch, man.
Montreal is big. I know we were at the ball game, so we didn't see a lot of that. I was following it, though, and they had a really nice start. It just seemed like Nathan Rourke just needed that win at Touchdown Pacific to sort of get their mojo back, and they're going to be scary. And this is why for the Bombers, they got to win the division. They have to have that game at home. And not that they haven't beaten BC before in BC.
Yeah, but Princess Auto Stadium in late October, early November.
Exactly.
That's a Brady Oliveira. Now, BC will be better suited to grind it out this year with Stanback than they were with Taquan Mizell last year.
Yeah.
Right. In fact, you can look at what they've done with Stanback the last couple of weeks offensively, and they're really starting to sort of use him much more effectively than they were early in their year. So, but yeah, I mean, that would be what a matchup that would be.
Team that doesn't get a lot of practice or anything, frankly, in the outdoors. So I like the Bombers' chances if they can get the home game. And again, they've got a bye, home and home against the Elks, and then they finish with all 3 games against the East. So they're done playing Calgary, BC, Saskatchewan. But I am quite excited to see those 2 games against the Elks and Bombers, because they've been the best 2 teams in the West over the last couple months, and seem to be on a bit of a collision course for a home and home.
It would be, yeah. I know you'll be like, it'll never happen, but imagine if Edmonton sweeps those 2 games. Holy smokes, does that throw a wrench? That throws a wrench into everything, which would be crazy. I mean, the one aspect of it, like the Bombers are very fascinating because their turnover ratio sucks. Like going into that game against the Riders, not that it mattered, but going into that game, the Riders were like plus 16 in turnovers and the Bombers were minus 8. It was a 24 turnover swing between those two. So the fact that the Bombers are where they are right now, despite having like the second or third worst turnover ratio in the league, probably says how good they are, that they've managed to overcome some of those turnovers, right? Like Zach's thrown the most interceptions in the entire league.
Well, the only thing is, I think they didn't really overcome them. They just stopped making them, because if you looked at the turnover numbers in the first 8 games when they were 2-6, I mean, they were obscene for a Bomber team. And, the last couple games, they've done a pretty good job of taking care of the football. I mean, Zach had a couple iffy picks against the Hamilton Tiger Cats in that game, but managed to come back at the end. But playing clean football and taking care of the ball is mandatory right now, especially when you're getting into it with good teams. And how about Ottawa smashing the Argos? That was the game that probably surprised me the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I know it was sort of starting as we were getting ready for the Banjo Bowl, but to see them up, I think 27-3 at one point, I really thought that Toronto would come out of that loss to Hamilton in the Labor Day game looking to go into Ottawa. And listen, maybe this is just more of the underestimating Drew Brown. We're going to talk about it on CFL 110 tomorrow, but Hammer can make a case that Drew Brown should be in the conversation for MOP this year.
I think it's a legitimate conversation considering where we're at in the race for MOP this year. Yeah, I don't think it's too crazy.
And what they have done so far. Early lines right now. The Argos going to BC on Friday. 4.5-point favorites are the Lions. Minus 222 to win. Argos plus 178 on the money line.
I think I like the over in that game, 52. It's the highest of the week, but that should be a pretty high-scoring football game.
You know what? I don't disagree with that at all. Let's get some points in that sucker. Ottawa at Hamilton. Exact same money line, minus 222 for Ottawa, plus 178 for Hamilton, but the line's 5 in favor of the Red Blacks. And then the Montreal Alouettes, who go into Calgary on a team that just feels like it's over for them, the Stamps, with what's happened over the last little bit. There's losing streak they're on, getting swept by Edmonton. Calgary is a 5.5-point home dog and plus 195 on the money line. Alouettes minus 5.5.
I think I love Montreal on that line because to me, I mean, that's not far off where it would be if Calgary was playing okay. And Calgary's not. I mean, I know, they were better at home earlier in the year, but they're not good anywhere right now. And I think you're in that at halftime against the Elks in the Labor Day rematch, you were still very much in that football game. Mm-hmm. But the rookie quarterback you'd put in the game had already thrown 3 interceptions. And you didn't go back to Jake Mayer. I think it says a lot about Jake Mayer, the fact that Calgary sort of just kind of mailed it in at that point. Like if the Bombers for some reason weren't happy with Zach Collaros because he's thrown the most interception in the league, And well, obviously Strevler's hurt, but so Terry Wilson starts playing against the Riders in the rematch game. You're down 14. Wilson's thrown 3 interceptions. The Bombers are going back to Zach Collaros in the second half because they're like, okay, we're still in this football game. And Jake and Zach are different levels, so maybe it's not a great comparison, but I think it said a lot about the Stamps are just like either mailing it in or they're completely done with Jake Mayer because the other guy was giving you no hope of coming back and winning that football game. None at all whatsoever.
No, I'm it just feels like a white towel on the being waved on the whole season. So we'll see what happens, but it's going to be weird. Just a quieter CFL week with just the 3 teams in action: Bombers and Elks on the bye, and then I guess the following week it's in Edmonton, and then following week it's in Edmonton, and then we go to and then we come back to the Peg.
Yep. No, that's going to be it's going to be good. The Elks, so the Elks finish with the bye, and then they have another bye a little bit later on. So they've got Bombers, Riders, Stampeders, and then a bye, and then the Argos at the end of the year. So huge game against the Riders on October 5th. If they could split with the Bombers with this home and home, that'd be good. And then they owned Calgary the last couple of games. So, I mean, there's at least 3 wins out there for the taking if they can get them down the stretch here, which is something after starting 0-7. So, that was good. Plus, sold out Laura Bowl Huss here at Commonwealth. Yeah, almost 32,000 at the game on 32. What, Maddie? What was the number?
32,144.
32,144 on Saturday
Awesome.
night. Yeah, real nice. Yeah.
So are we cool with the name now, or now that the team's won a few games?
I don't know. I mean, as long as their owner keeps driving straight through the other team's bench on his fire truck, I think people will keep coming out to support him. That was remarkable. Absolutely remarkable. Like, what a guy. That was that was nuts. Crazy. What's coming up on the Winnipeg Sports Talk today? What do you got going on?
Well, our pal Sean Reynolds from Sportsnet's back. He's going to jump on the program today. We're going to look ahead to rookie camp and actually talk with Stephen Ellis from Daily Faceoff on a number of the young Jet prospects pushing for a shot with the big club and the Youngstars tournament that's going to be coming up on the weekend out in Penticton. And for all the fans of the Vikings, our buddy Matt Collar down in the Twin Cities with the Purple Report's going to come on. We're going to talk about the Vikings' big Week 1 win and the debut of Sammy Darts, the artist formerly known as Sam Darnold.
Sammy Darts. Oh, my God.
Sammy Darts.
Are they calling him that down there?
Well, we're calling him that now. My buddy Johnny Viking coined that phrase. He was about probably a quarter into the game, and he's like, Sammy Darts never even thrown an incompletion as a Minnesota Viking, because I think he went like 14 of 14 to start it off.
And then wait, your buddy's name's Johnny Viking?
Well, that's what we call him.
He's a Vikings fan and
Viking psycho.
I love it. Johnny Viking comes up with the name Sammy Darts.
Yeah, Sammy
only
Darts
at the Confusion Corner in Winnipeg, my man.
Yeah. It was a great Week 1 Sunday. I will say that. It was fun to get out for the Monday Nighter last night. Disappointing. It wasn't more successful for the Lock Shop, and disappointing it wasn't a better game, because that was it was like a fight where you think, oh, this is going to be a good fight, and then you kind of realize very quickly that one guy can just keep on punching the guy in the face, and that was it. Well, Jordan Mason was the punch in the face. They did it 28 times. Aaron Rodgers never got the football, and that was that. But yeah, we'll talk a little NFL today and actually get ready to get some hockey going again.
I was going to say, rookies report tomorrow for your Edmonton Oilers, and informal skate today. We had top 6 line combinations today, Huss. That's what's happening in Edmonton right now. I spent an hour on it for 2 guys and a goalie today.
We're doing some lines today, huh?
Yeah, line combinations, no big deal. Sully texts in at 780-218-9999, says, so what you're saying here, guys, is don't drop lots of fab for Malik Willis to help my pathetic dynasty team. Yeah, no.
Huh.
No. Do not spend any fab.
$0.
Yeah.
Budget $0 on Malik Willis.
No, I would not.
And if somehow he turns into the second coming, I will eat it. But we've seen this. I mean, listen, they walked away. He was a second-round pick.
Yeah.
They walked away from him so quickly because he just couldn't do it. I cannot believe the Packers have him as their backup and he's starting. It is. Well, I just don't believe.
We were watching the end of that game. We were watching the end of that game together with that excellent cheese toast. Wherever we were, that had that cheese toast. Highs, yeah, great cheese toast. Thinking about that all weekend. Anyway, we were watching it, and they brought in Willis, and I don't know, he threw a quick incompletion, and then they needed him to throw a Hail Mary shot, and he kind of slipped and got sacked, and that was the end of the story. Like,
couldn't even get rid of the ball. Listen, don't believe us, believe the odds makers. Indy, the Colts are a 3.5-point favorite in Lambeau Field in week 2. That will tell you all you need to know about how people view the chances of success for Malik Willis and the Packers.
Going to be interesting. One more time before we let you go, let's get into this one more time because as of now, you can hop online and get ready for Lock Shop Poker Series second event. It's going to be happening in 2 weeks, Tuesday, September 24th, right before Huss flies off to Montreal for the Presidents. You can go right now to Lockshop or Coolbet.com, download the poker app, search Lock Shop, and register right now. So go get your spot right now. We ended up with 60 people, kind of on short notice on the last one. So hopefully we'll bring back at least that many. I think everybody who was in last time will have a really good time. So go to Coolbet.com, download the poker app, search the Lock Shop, and register. What was the entry fee again? It was 30 euros.
There's 20 euros.
20 euros, 30 bucks. 30 bucks. So, and Maddie, what did you finish last time? You came away with some cash, didn't you?
120 some bucks.
You won 120 bucks. And what'd you finish? Second?
Fifth.
Well then,
Fifth.
geez.
Yeah, Remus was second. I think Remus.
Oh yeah, Remo finished second. He must have done okay,
something like that.
Yeah.
And I think the
really
winner
nice.
was like over 5. Yeah, it was a good time. Nice. It was a good crew.
Should be good. All right, so go sign up right now. Go to coolbet.com, download the poker app, search Lock Shop, and register for our second event in the Lock Shop Poker Series. Huss, have a good show today, buddy. We'll catch up with you tomorrow.
Looking forward to it, Dusty. Thanks as always.